Okay, all right. Well, happy Wednesday, and we'll keep covering more stuff. So today I wanted to look at just kind of getting your data into R, importing and exporting stuff, and then also cover web scraping. Web scraping is actually could be a really kind of big topic, and we can dedicate multiple lectures to it. But I didn't want to do like a bunch of lectures on web scraping, so I'm going to give you just kind of like the most basic form of web scraping using a tool called rvest, all right? And I'll just say, hey, these are these other things that are available and they exist, and if you're interested, you can go out and search for more stuff. But we'll just kind of start off, we'll just do one lecture on it, covering kind of the most basic form of web scraping here, okay? All right, so let's first talk about just getting your data into R. And I think you guys are already familiar with these functions like read.csv. I'm sure everyone has used that already. But you know, if you want like an interactive thing, you can do read line. That gets input from the standard input, which is basically the console when somebody types stuff in there. The default setting on read.csv used to be strings as factors true. I think it now defaults to strings as factors false. I like to kind of throw that in there just to kind of be safe and make sure the strings don't come in as factors. But anyway, that's what we have. Read.table is just kind of a more generic form. Read.csv says, hey, your delimiters are commas. I prefer using the tidyverse. I'm a big fan of the tidyverse over using base R for reading in your data. And so in the tidyverse, there's a library called readr, and that's going to have functions for reading in CSV files that has basically better performance than read.csv. You also have additional packages like read Excel and Haven, which allows you to read in different formats of data. So, you know, Excel is a very popular software that, you know, in the business world, very popular. We don't use it very much here in the stats department at UCLA, but I'm actually a big fan of Excel. I think you can do quite a bit with it. And, you know, for somebody, if I know the person is not going to be comfortable writing code, which is the vast majority of people, and you guys are not only, but just like you're like forced into it, right? You said, I'm going to be a stats major. Somebody say, hey, guess what? You got to write code. And you say, all right, I guess this is my life now. And that's fine. But yeah, a bunch of other people, like if you get a job and your boss is not like a data scientist or something, just a regular manager, they're going to be much more comfortable with Excel, all right? And so if you want to say like, okay, this is what you can do, you know, you might have to interact with Excel. They'll probably just want you to create like dashboards and reports and stuff like that. But there's also other statistical software like SAS and SPSS and Stata. Although R has kind of like, so I would say SPSS is kind of popular in social sciences, but I'd say R has kind of overtaken that. Stata used to be more popular in business, and I'd say Python has overtaken that. SAS has kind of stuck around, and it's kind of in these government and health profession things. SAS is still there, going strong. But we have that, and Haven interacts with that. And then there's another package called data.table, and I'll talk about that later, but that covers like reading things in fast. All right, so with package reader, you replace the dot with an underscore. You got read underscore CSV. This is going to read in your CSV files. You also have these other forms, tab separated files, general delimited files, and things like that, in case you know the text file you have is slightly weird format. Fixed width files, you know, in text documents, all of the characters take up the same amount of space, right? It's generally monospaced, and so you'll have like the letter I when you write takes up much less space than the letter M, but in a text document they take up the same amount of space. And so because of that, you can kind of like space things out, and you'll have, you know, you just kind of pad each column with spaces so the columns line up. That would be a fixed width file. Okay. and you can read that in. We have package data.table. Again, this is the one, it's not part of the tidyverse, but it is still very handy. And it has this function called fread, and that's kind of your catch-all reader for different files like CSVs or whatever. And so it acts very much like read_CSV. The difference is that its performance is fast. And I would say the performance is most noticeable. Performance gap is most notable if you have a very big data file, like something that's like a gigabyte big. Okay, right? If you have like hundreds of thousands of rows, something like that. So, are any of you planning on participating in DataFest? Do you guys know what that is? So DataFest is this hackathon-style competition. It takes place over the weekend, and I think it's going to be the end of April. Okay, at the end of April this year, April 28th or something like that, and we get some kind of secret sponsor, usually some kind of company that provides a huge data file and says, hey, do some exploration. Okay, and you kind of go through and you look for some interesting trends, interesting patterns. In the past, we've got data from like Expedia, data from I think it was Indeed.com, website. I think we also got data from like the Canadian national rugby team or something. I think the women's rugby team and stuff. And they had all of this fascinating data for you to kind of interact with and stuff like that. It's pretty neat, pretty fun. And so I highly recommend you guys participate. Even if you feel like, oh man, I suck at all of this stuff, or like I don't know what I'm doing, that's okay. Go in there, learn, have a good time. You might not win, but it's not about the winning, okay? I mean, if you win, great. But if you just go in there and if you still enjoyed yourself, then also a success, okay? Anyway, if you have a huge data file like at the competition, fread probably will do the best there, okay? This is just some text I copied from the website that says, yep, fread is faster than read_CSV, and that's what we have there. Read Excel, again, is used for interacting with Excel files, and so you'll do something like read_Excel datasets.xls or something like that. A Microsoft Excel workbook can contain multiple sheets, and so if you want to specify which sheet you want to import, you can specify sheet equals, and you give it the sheet name or the number of the sheet. I want the second sheet or something like that. Okay. Okay. Sometimes there is a file on the internet, like a CSV file on the internet that you want to kind of download and you want to import into R. All right. So kind of the traditional way is you go to the website, you find the file, you click download, you right-click download, you save it somewhere onto your computer, and then you import that into R. Right. And that works just fine. Okay. But let's say this is a site that every month updates the CSV file, right? It's like maybe some government organization, and so they say, all right, for January 2024, we have the latest whatever employment numbers or something like that. And then so you want to update your thing. So what you normally have to do is you have to go to the website again, download it, and import it into R again. You can save yourself some of that navigating and clicking and all of that just by kind of writing in that action into your script, okay? So into your R script, you can say download this file and then save it somewhere and import it, okay? And so if you wanted to automate that, you can use a function called download, right? And that's part of library downloader. There is a base R function called download.file, but it is like old and outdated. It works at a time. Are you guys familiar with the difference between HTTP and HTTPS? So HTTP is when you go to, I don't know, have you ever talked to someone like your grandma on the phone about going to a website, and you're like, hey, what website are you at? And they're like, the web address is http://www. And you're just like, oh gosh, just say Google, right? But okay, so HTTP is like Hypertext Transfer Protocol, and then there's HTTPS, which is Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure, right? And so most websites today will be like HTTPS. So if you go to Brew and Learn or something, you have to log in, and you're gonna have a secure connection. If you go to a banking website and it's not secure, that's like something went wrong, okay? But like, other websites are not secure. Like I think just the regular old statistics webpage, this is just regular old HTTP, and it's going to say not secure, okay? Oh, there's Professor Christo. Okay, not secure here, all right? And that just means it doesn't have this encrypted connection between your computer and the server there, all right? And download.file works fine with not secure things, but like almost all web pages today, there's like this security thing and stuff like that. So if you want to be able to handle that, you need library downloader. And this is how you would download something, okay? So I think I've got the CSV file on GitHub, all right? And so you can just go, here's the URL. This is the web address of the thing. And then you say download that. And so this is just gonna go to that URL, download the file into into iris.csv. So this is gonna do it into your working directory. So again, you need to kind of make sure you're in your proper working directory. And then we'll just do read_csv to read that in, okay? So that's just gonna save you from having to open up your web browser, navigating to the page and downloading. You can just put it in your script and say, go to this URL and download the file. Sometimes you want to save and export data, right? So I recommended in your RStudio setup to change things so it never saves your environment when you exit. And that I always tell you, clear out your environment frequently and things like that. But sometimes you had to work really hard to get some data in your environment, right? Like, so for example, in your homework, I said, do this Monte Carlo simulation where you do like 10,000 games of whatever, chutes and ladders. And it probably takes your computer like a minute to do that, right? Or I don't know, maybe not even that longer, I don't know, okay? But what if I said 10 million games, right? Oh my gosh, you'd have to sit there for an hour or however long, and then that's where like your code efficiency really makes a difference. And so anyway, 10 million games, you sit around and you wait for this thing to finish, and you go, gosh, I don't have to want to sit around for another hour to generate this thing, okay? So you want to save that data, okay? Well, actually, RStudio makes it really easy. You can just click the little save icon, and it will save everything in your environment somewhere to a thing. But you can also save the objects directly, okay? And so if you were in a situation where you didn't have RStudio and you were just working in base R, you could still do it. You just type out save, the object name, where you want to save it, and it will save those objects into an RData file. If you need to get that data into another program, right? Maybe you have to export it as a CSV file or export it as a text file. So just a plain old atomic vector, you can just do write and write it to a text file. If it's a CSV, if it's a data frame, you can write it to a CSV and it will export it as a CSV that you can then read somewhere else. The default for write.csv is that it exports the row names, which we often don't really want, because usually they're just integers, 1 through 25 or whatever, right? 1 through 1,000,000. So you can do row.names false. Okay. Let me give you your first view quiz answer, the letter D. D as in dog. D as in dog. Okay. There is a package called lubridate, and this makes working with dates a lot easier, a lot smoother going. Okay, it's a play on words, like lubricate, like you have to put oil into your engine to lubricate the parts so that it runs smoothly. And similarly, you want to, when you have to deal with dates in R, use lubridate, and that will make your things going smoother. Okay, you don't have to worry about these slides. This is just here to show you what a pain it is to deal with dates in R. So if you were dealing in base R and you have dates, it's such a pain, okay? You know, the whole concept of a calendar is the fact that the whole world is agreed like to the same calendar is pretty amazing. And it's like a calendar that doesn't make any sense at all, right? Like we got 31 days in January and 28, sometimes 29 in February. September, sept, you'd think it would be the 7th month, but it's the 9th month. October is the 10th month and stuff and things like that. And okay, apparently the calendar used to start in March and whatever, right? Anyway, whatever. So anyway, we have weird things, right? We can't agree what the months are called. You know, in English we call it January, but other places call it, you know, you had your month convert function, right? So anyway, if you want to say, okay, January 15th, 1999, okay, and you want to import that as a date, this comes in as a string and you want to turn it into a date, you have to do as.date. And then because it's written out January, you write %B, and then 15th is going to be %d. There's a comma there, you got to put in a comma, 4-digit year, %Y, okay? And that will recognize that as a date. You do something silly, like you forget the comma, and then it goes, oh my gosh, I don't know how to read this, and you get an A, okay? Here's something else, 12/15, so what, December 15th, 2001, separated by dashes, you need to put it this way, and it will recognize it. You leave out the dashes, it crashes. And again, these things aren't really interchangeable. If I try to use this date format, so if I have a vector with 3 string dates in slightly different formats, each of these things only works one at a time, and you have to kind of like get all of these things to look similar, and then you can convert it. And it is a huge, huge, huge pain, right? Imagine a column of 1,000 values with like slightly different date formats, okay? Oh gosh, all right? So lubridate just makes it easier, right? So here's that same vector of dates as strings, okay? And I want to say, hey, make this into a date objects. I say lubridate, there's a function month, day, year, MDY. All of our info is coming in month, day, year. And there we go, okay? So January 15th, 1999, December 15th, 2001. So even though these are all coming in slightly different, okay? Now, the one thing lubridate won't do is it's not going to try to figure out, is this an American date or a European date or something like that, right? So if you have something like 03, 04, 05, that is ambiguous, okay? In Europe, this would be April 3rd. In the US, this would be March 4th. I mean, and technically could also be 2003, right? And so you have to specify, hey, these numbers are year, month, day, or month, day, year, or day, month, year. And then it will say, okay, now that you've given me that thing, you clarified it, I can turn these into dates, okay? Obviously, if you do something like this, so here's 25/12/99, this is going to be December 25th, okay? But you say this is month, day, year, okay? Then that's going to fail, and that will return an NA, okay? But otherwise, lubridate is very good about handling dates. So if you're ever dealing with date information, strongly recommend using lubridate, part of the tidyverse. Okay, let's talk about web scraping, okay? So I'm just introducing you to the very basic form of web scraping using RVest. And web scraping is the idea of there's a web page, there's information on the web page, and you want to kind of extract that information and get it into R. So then maybe there's a table or something, right? So you go to some place like Wikipedia, okay? Or let's say we want state populations. List of U.S. states and territories by population, and so there's a here it is. Okay, so here's this table, and let's say we want to get this data out of Wikipedia. So probably, if you didn't know anything about web scraping, what you would do probably is you would like grab your mouse and you would highlight this, and then you'd come over here, whatever, and then you hit Control-C on your keyboard, then you'd go over to Excel, and then you'd paste it, right? Or I don't know, you have a better way to do this if you weren't going to use a web scraping tool, all right? And then you'd paste it, and then you're like, oh gosh, okay. And then it pastes in all of this stuff, which is great, but then it's like these are all links, and then so you have to like remove the URLs, remove hyperlinks. I don't know. Okay. Okay, and this got formatted funny because I think I highlighted it wrong. I got these flags here, but anyway, so you'd have to do something like this, and do some cleaning up. It's a little bit of a pain. Okay. RVest will do this inside of R, get your data in and out of R. It's usually a lot easier, okay? When we do stuff in RVest, what it uses is CSS tags in HTML, okay? Which maybe you're not familiar with, maybe you are. So let me kind of show you this, and I'll say this again, but so RVest works well with fairly static pages with well-defined HTML and CSS tags. RVest does not work well if you have a site generated via JavaScript, so something with like infinite scroll, not going to work, okay? And then if you have to be logged in to view content, like Facebook or Twitter or X, whatever we call it, also not going to work. So again, this is just very kind of basic. So here is, I can go to Reddit, all right? So if I go to Reddit, this is a page that has kind of infinite scrolling here. And all of these things are kind of generated, with this kind of interactive thing, JavaScript and stuff with the server. But Reddit has like their older version, so you can go to old.reddit. All right, and this is going to work better, okay? Static thing, you have to click next. It's not going to just automatically generate more content. And so let's say we wanted to extract out information from this web page, okay? So there is this thing called selector gadget, okay? So you can get the selector gadget at this page, linked in the notes, okay? Part of the RVest thing, it'll talk about the selector gadget, okay? And what the selector gadget does is it breaks down, or it looks at the underlying code, the HTML code. So inside a web page, there will be all of these like HTML tags and things, and you can see this yourself. I don't know if you've ever accidentally hit F12 on the keyboard and this thing pops up, okay? And then you're like, oh gosh, what's going on? This is everything that your browser is reading, okay? And so like this thing that says installation, it shows up here under main, okay, right here. There is the word installation appears here under the H2 tag, okay? H2 is heading level 2, all right? And then down here, further down, there is under use. Use is heading level 2, and that's why these tags look similar. Whereas selector gadget is at the top, and that's going to be a heading level 1, okay? H1 selector gadget, right? And so this is all of the stuff here. This is kind of the source that it's reading in your web browser. This computer program, Chrome or whatever, Firefox that you open, reads all of that stuff and says, okay, these are in the instructions, and when I want it to display it to the human, I should make it look pretty like this, okay? But it's reading in all of this stuff, and it says, okay, this is how I should display it. So what RVest does says, okay, let's read in all of this content, and let's look at these tags. And if you say, hey, I want everything with an H2 tag, a heading level 2, it's going to say, all right, we're going to get installation, we're going to get use, we're going to get example, things like that, okay? If I look at the Reddit page, okay, and I do F12, again, all of these different things. So what I can, so what I can do is I can use selector gadget. Okay, and to install selector gadget, what you have to do is you have to show your bookmarks bar. So on Chrome, you would hit something like Command-Shift-B or Control-Shift-B, B as in bear, bookmarks, and it pops up here. And you would drag this link, selector gadget, up to your bookmarks bar and add it there. Okay, and here I'm going to just go ahead and delete that. I think bookmarks and list, and or actually I don't know how to hide the bookmarks bar. Okay, but Control-Shift-B, I think, other browsers, something similar as far as like showing or hiding your bookmarks bar. You would just click and drag it to the bookmarks bar. And then once you have it here, I'm going to click Selector Gadget. And that brings up this little kind of box down here that says no valid path found. And then now as I hover over the web page, I got all these like orange boxes that hover. And so let's say I wanted to extract something like the title of each of these kind of posts that appear on Reddit. So I click, should there be a wealth tax? I click that. These are all of the other stuff that gets highlighted, okay? That's fine, but I also want stuff like, I want all of the headings, okay? So I will click this, and now it highlights a little too much. So everything in green and yellow is gonna get extracted. Now we're getting a little bit too much. I don't want this here. So I'll click that, and it says the tag that I'm going to get is title. I think that's fine. Oh, actually, I don't want these things down here, so I'm going to do that. Okay, site table.title. I think that could work. Let's see. All right. Well, anyway, we'll try that. And then what I'm going to do is, and I'm going to read that HTML, and I'm going to extract out the nodes with that particular thing. So, okay, last time I did it, I got a slightly different tag, but let's see if this works. Okay, so I'm going to go to read HTML, read underscore HTML. I'm going to say read in from old Reddit. Okay, and it reads in the page. And I'm going to say extract out the nodes with that tag, site table.title, which is what I found by using selector gadget. I kind of clicked these things, and I said I didn't want this. I got title, but I said I didn't want this, and so this is the tags that I got here. Okay. Let me see if this works. Okay, and it looks like it did. Okay, so I said extract out those nodes. And from the node, extract out the text. And so, so it looks like it mostly got it. Some of this got kind of repeated for whatever reason. But it says, should there be a wealth tax? British public will be called up to fight. Valley of Tears. And indeed, these are the headings that show up on the web page here. Okay. I think. Last time I selected, I got a slightly different tag, and this one didn't duplicate it. So sometimes you have to kind of like play around with it to kind of get the thing. And again, here are the different titles that appear as far as what appeared on Reddit. Okay, sorry, apologies for the curse words that appear there. Or for example, let's say you wanted to extract how many comments appeared on each of these things. So this thing about wealth tax, there's a 5,351 comments, okay? And again, I can do selector gadget. I can kind of hover over that. And let me just, okay, this says dot first. Okay, so maybe that will work. And I can try running that, and I can say this time, the node that I want to extract is going to be dot first. And yeah, it pulls out how many comments there are, okay? And it shows how many comments appeared on each of these things. So that seems like it's working, okay? And so if you extract something like this, then you can get all of these numbers out. And I used a regular expression, which I'll talk doing another lecture about like extracting numbers out of a string or something like that. Okay, so that's what we have here. Okay, again, RVest works better for these mostly static pages that might go through some updates. Doesn't work well if it's infinite scroll or something you have to log into. Okay, and so again, so I ran this last night, and these were the kind of the tags that appeared there. If you want more complicated web scraping, some other things that you can do are Selenium. So there's Selenium browser, and this works with R, it works with Python, and you can do all kinds of stuff there. But again, that's a lot more involved, takes a lot longer time to kind of learn, and I really only wanted to spend one lecture on this topic of web scraping. So we're just doing kind of the most basic form with RVest. If you want to do something more advanced, you got to kind of teach yourself some of the stuff. So these are some of the other things that exist. Okay, let me give you a little demonstration on like some of the things you can do with RVest. Okay, so let me clear this out. Let me. Your second view quiz answer is the letter A. A as an apple. A as an apple. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to go to IMDb. IMDb has a bunch of like information about movies and stuff, and so I'm going to start off at this at the Lego Movie page. Okay, 2014. So I don't know. This came out when you guys were kids, and did you all watch this and have fun or no? Anyway, so here's the Lego Movie page, and let's say we wanted to get information out of this Lego Movie page. So it looks like there's a lot of stuff here, but again, this is a mostly static page, even if there's like videos and different kinds of media showing up on it, because you know if you come back a couple days later, it's mostly going to look the same. It's not going to be there's no infinite scroll with some kind of feed or something like that. Okay, and so what I want to do is I'm going to tell RVest, we're going to read this in. There's a few packages that I'm going to use. I'm going to obviously use RVest. Okay. I'm also going to use Stringer to kind of handle regular expressions in string. And then there's another package called Polite. And I'll explain Polite, I guess right now. So part of this script, we're going to create this automated browser, basically a bot that's going to go to the web page, follow a link, get information from another web page, okay? And then it's going to follow another link, get information, right? And so when people first kind of invented bots, they could overwhelm a server by kind of creating a whole bunch of requests, right? This is kind of a you can say like, hey, what does give me this page, give me this page, give me this page, and the server has to like keep feeding, answering all of these requests, and so server said, you know what, I don't like this, all right, and so basically a lot of servers now have this kind of protection against bots where they say, hey, here's the same IP address, and it has made like 10 requests in 2 seconds, okay? That's far more than a normal human would create. This has to be a bot, and therefore we're gonna reject it, right? And so you have a lot of kinds of things. I don't know if you've ever gone to a web page where you've like tried to refresh it too many times and then it says like stop refreshing, or after, I don't know, a lot of times you have these captures that show up and say like, identify the motorcycles or street lamps or something. By the way, you're training self-driving cars when you do that, so it can tell the difference between motorcycles and street lights. It's taking your data, and it's like, okay, it kind of knows the answer, but it's also kind of getting verification, and that's also why it's putting it like right on the border where it's like, is this part of it or that's it? It's really trying to fine-tune which pixels belong to the motorcycle and which pixels do not, and things like that. So so you're all part of training whatever place is trying to gather data there. But anyway, the servers don't like bots, and so Polite, what that does is it kind of tells your computer when you tell your computer to be a bot and follow these different web pages, it also says, hey, you know what? Play it cool. Don't make 10 requests in 2 seconds, okay? Make a request, wait 10 seconds, then make another request, and then wait, okay? And things like that, okay? And so it tries to act nice with the servers. So it intentionally slows down your code, but it will also prevent the server from just kind of like banning you outright, right? If it detects like too many hits from an aggressive server defense, might say like this IP address is doing way too much stuff. We're just gonna block your IP for half an hour, or block your IP for a day, or maybe possibly like even longer. But generally, most servers don't do that. They usually just say like, hey, we're busy, I'm not responding. Okay, but you can get kind of a little temporary server ban where it says like, nah, we're not going to respond to you for like another hour if you do too many requests all at once. So anyway, Polite tries to avoid that from happening. So anyway, we're going to go to the Lego movie page. We're going to read in that HTML. And then I want to extract out, let's say this number, 7.7. This is the rating, okay? And we're going to hover over it, and we're going to say that, and that's going to be the tag that I get, okay? CMEQKK, CMEQKK, all right? So that's already, I did this earlier, so that's in there. So again, if I read in the Lego movie, it's currently this list. From there, I want to extract out the nodes that have that tag, CMEQKK. And for whatever reason, it's duplicated. And there's other information in that tag about the class and this and that, okay? And what we're saying is, hey, I just want to get the text that's in between the tags. So the tag is kind of this greater than, less than business that kind of says this is a span tag and stuff like that. We just want the text in between. So we're going to say HTML text, okay? And that extracts out the 7.7. I want to make that a number, so I'm going to do as numeric, and we're going to store that. So here's my vector of values here, 7.7. For whatever reason, it got duplicated. These are pipes. I don't know if you guys have seen pipes. I'll explain pipes again in the future, but it's just kind of like sometimes you want to do one function, take that result, apply another function to that result, take that result, apply another function to it. You can do it with like nested functions. You can do function inside another function inside another function. You can do that. Or you can just use pipes, and that kind of takes the results, applies another function to it. Okay, so I can get the rating of the movie that way. Okay, what if I want to get the actors, the cast, who performed in the movie? Okay, so we have Chris Pratt, who is the voice of the Emmett Brukowski. Okay, I didn't realize that was his last name. Okay, so here again, I'm going to do select your gadget. I'm going to hover over the things, and the piece that I want is the name, okay? And I do that, and it says, here is everything else with that same tag. And yeah, this looks like exactly what I want. It's got the different actor names highlighted. I kind of scroll through, check if anything else is yellow that I don't want, and it looks okay. It doesn't look like much else. So the tag here is GCQKEH, okay? A little bit of a nonsense tag, but whatever. We're gonna use that. And again, I go to, say, take the Lego movie, which I've already read in as HTML. We're going to go look at the tags GCQKEH and pull out the text, okay? And so now the cast, yep, that's the cast of people who acted in the movie. Chris Pratt, Will Ferrell, Elizabeth Banks, Will Arnett, so on and so forth. You can also extract out longer form things. So one of these things down here is a review. This is a review somebody left. To be honest, when I heard of the Lego movie, I thought it would be a ridiculous idea. But then they gave it an 8 out of 10, so not so bad. Okay, and I think this is the tag that applies to that. Whoops, not that one, the review. Okay, the tag that applies to that. And let's see, so they wrote a lot, okay. And here it is. To be honest, when I heard of the Lego movie, I thought it would be a ridiculous idea, right? And I extracted out that text from the server. Okay. What if, or actually what I want to do now is I want to follow the actor. Okay, I'm going to go click Chris Pratt. I'm going to go to his page. Okay, and we are going to, what I want to get is just kind of some of the projects that Chris Pratt has been part of. So I'm going to go to Select Your Gadget. I'm going to click, say, like, I want this thing. All right, so here it is. Guardians of the Galaxy, also some of the upcoming things, terminal list, whatever. And we're going to do that, okay? And so this will be the tag here. And I'm going to copy that. And so here, I'm going to say, read the HTML of Chris Pratt's webpage, imdb.com/name/nm069, which is the web address up there. And we're going to say, read in that tag. And we can see kind of the different projects that he's been part of, right? The terminal list, Garfield movie, Cowboy Ninja, Viking, which I guess is the theme of, that's what we have, right? Okay, so we have all of these different kind of projects that he is a part of on this thing, right? Guardians of the Galaxy, Super Mario Brothers movie. Okay, great. Let's so that works there. Let me do an automated browser thing, okay? So what I want to do now is I want to do this automated browser. I have this old text code that used to work before IMDb set up their server defenses and said no bots, okay? And so now we have to use the polite. So this would kind of zip through it really quickly, like get through all of the pages really fast. And it's not going to work anymore. So I have to slow it down. So it's, my code takes longer to run now, but that's fine. And now it runs. So we're going to open up a polite session. So we bow to the server to say, oh, please server, let me in, okay? And this creates a polite session, okay? And we just give it the web page of where we want to start. This is the Lego movie page. From that page, we're going to scrape the content, okay? And so this is basically like read HTML, but in a polite session, we're going to kind of scrape this, okay? So this is, again, my page content. It's very much kind of like read_HTML. It comes in with all of these tags. And from that, we want to get the cast, okay? We're going to use that HTML node, GCQKEH, and we'll get the actor names, Chris Pratt, Will Ferrell, Elizabeth Banks, Will Arnett, okay? Within those tags also, if I just look at the content of those tags, okay, so we have the actor name here, but there's also a whole bunch of other stuff, okay? There's data test ID, I don't know what this is, okay? There's a href, this is a URL that says when you click this tag or click this link, what page do I go to, right? And so for Chris Pratt, when you click Chris Pratt's name, it will take you to this web page. When you click Will Ferrell's name, it'll take you to this web page. And so we want to extract out this URL, okay? That's associated with the href tag. So I'm going to say from that content, look at those nodes with that tag GCQKEH, okay, which is right here, and then get the attribute, the HTML attribute for the href, the hypertext reference, okay? So we'll do that, and if I do actor URLs, now I have all of those URLs. So what I want to do here is I want to associate, these are the URLs, I want to associate those with the cast names. So I'm going to use the names function, and I'm going to give names for each of these things. So this is a vector of URLs. I'm going to say names here. And now when I look at the vector of URLs, each of those have the names. So we're going to give it, the names that I provided was from cast. So Chris Pratt, Will Ferrell, Elizabeth Banks, I have all of that there. And so now I can say, hey, give me the URL for Chris Pratt. And there we go. I can also say, hey, give me the URL for Will Ferrell. How do you spell Will Ferrell? 2 R's, 2 L's. Okay, and we get his URL as well. All right, and so with the session, remember, I've opened a session with the browser, or with the server. I can say, hey, I create a request of the server. I say, hey, server, I'm at this page. Will you allow me to go to this page and get the content from there? Okay, and so that is nod. Okay, you do nod, and the path that we want to go to is this URL, which I've kind of subset using actor URLs Chris Pratt. I go to that thing and I say, hey, give me the HTML content, scrape the content, text HTML, all right? And so now Chris Pratt's page, I have the content there. From Chris Pratt's page, I can extract out the kind of the projects that he's on using HTML nodes, and I can get that out, okay? And again, this is done kind of using nod, which is going to be a polite request to the server, and internally polite says like you're only allowed to make a request every so often, so you're not doing like 10 requests within a second or something like that, because servers don't like that. So what I want to do is I want to go to all of the actors, well, not all of them, we'll just do like the first 4, but I want to go to Chris Pratt's page, get his projects, go to Will Ferrell's page, get his project, go to Elizabeth Banks' page, get their projects or her projects, and go to Will Arnett's page and get and his projects and things like that. So whoops. So I'm going to create an empty list where I'm going to store all of this stuff, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of loop through just the first 4 actor names, and I'm going to download. I'm going to follow the URL to that actor name using nod, and I'm going to download the content from that actor page. I'm going to get actor page content. And then from that page content, I'm going to extract out basically the top 10 of the projects they're working on or have worked on. I'll also get the corresponding years. So again, this is just another tag because on the page, you can get the year of their project. So if we go to Will Ferrell's page, you know, we can kind of get, well, some of these don't have years, but, you know, like Will and Harper, Quiz Lady, and stuff like that. These are different, some of the different values. So we can get the tags there, the years there, and then we'll also kind of do the names. And I'm going to kind of do this in a loop here, and this will take a couple moments here because it's going to be a polite session. So we don't want to create too many requests. We're going to follow, we're basically requesting 4 different pages here. So it's running, and it will take a little bit of time. It's going to this page, getting its stuff, and it's waiting, right? It only takes, like once it goes to the page, it's very quick, but it waits between making requests. So now it's done making those 4 requests, okay? And I can say, hey, what is cast movies? And it's this big kind of list. I can say, what's the structure of cast movies? So remember, the way, if you look at my code, you can see the way I set up how we're going to store this. I took each actor name. We're going to do cast movies, double square bracket, actor name, $ movies. And so the way I've structured this list is I've got 4 actors. And so I have a list of 4, basically a train of 4. And then within each kind of list object, I have another list of 3, right? So the first train car is Chris Pratt. Inside that, I have a little train that has movies, years, name, okay? The next train car is Will Ferrell. Inside Will Ferrell's train car, I've got a train that says movies, years, name. And I have that for Elizabeth Banks, movies, years, name. And then Will Arnett, movies, years, name. Each of those things have a list of 10. And then overall, what I want is I want to take all of the movies, put them together, all of the years, put them together, all of the names, put them together. So I'm going to create an empty list for my results, and then I'm going to kind of iterate through this, and I'm going to create this. I use the form that I said don't do, but here there's only 4 things, so it's okay, right? So again, I had suggestions for efficiency, but sometimes if it's just like a quick little thing, you can kind of do the not most efficient thing. And so here it is, results. I've got a list of just 3 things now, and I can kind of make a data frame out of it. And so now I have a data frame with movies, years, name. I've got kind of 10 things for Chris Pratt, 10 things for Will Ferrell, 10 things for Elizabeth Banks, and 10 things for Will Arnett, right? And this was all done kind of via this automated browser where I started off at this Lego movie page, and we kind of followed each of these actors and downloaded stuff from each of their respective pages, which I think is cool, right? And again, so this is, you can still do quite a bit with RVest, and you can do a lot of this kind of automated stuff. But again, only works for these static pages, doesn't do for like infinite scroll pages and stuff. Let me give you your last view quiz answer, which is going to be the letter B. B as in bear. B, that's our last view quiz answer. We'll wrap it up here. Have a great rest of your day. In homework 3, which is coming in the future, you will be asked to do some web scraping stuff. So you have that to look forward to. Hopefully homework 2 is going well, and we'll see you all on Friday.